Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be taking excerpts from The Truth About Heartbreak by B. Celeste, and even some sneak peeks of a potential sequel. And we're going to be like really breaking it down for you. It's a story about love and loss and the kind of messy relationships that we all secretly love to read about.
It's fascinating how the author weaves in these themes of family, like the ones that we're born into and the ones that we choose, and how it really highlights the lasting impact of past experiences, particularly trauma. You can really see those themes shaping, like every interaction, every choice the characters make.
Right. It's like with River, our protagonist. We learn pretty quickly that she's a foster child with a lot of baggage, both physical and emotional. And it makes her incredibly guarded and reserved. It's almost like she's using silence as a shield.
It's a classic defense mechanism, especially for someone who's experienced the kind of instability and potential betrayals that come with the foster care system. It makes you wonder, is her silence like a way of protecting herself, or is it pushing people away?
That's such a good point. Because she does have people who genuinely care about her.
Right.
Like Oliver, her adopted brother. He seems like he's really trying to help her adjust to their new family.
I'm curious about Oliver, though. Is his concern genuine, or is there an element of guilt there? Maybe a feeling of responsibility for bringing someone with so much pain into their seemingly perfect world.
Ooh, interesting take. And then there's their parents, Bridget and Robert. They seem to be trying to create this stable and loving environment, but you can already see how their different parenting styles might clash with River's guarded nature.
Absolutely. Bridget's warmth and Robert's more reserved approach create a very interesting dynamic. You have to wonder if River, who's used to impermanence, will ever really allow herself to feel at home in that kind of environment.
And then we're introduced to the love interests. Everett, who's Oliver's best friend,
Yeah.
and Isabel, who is Everett's girlfriend. Now, Everett initially seems like your stereotypical popular jock, right? But we quickly learn there's more to him than meets the eye. Isabel, on the other hand, seems to view River as a threat from the get-go.
There's definitely a power dynamic at play. Isabel's wealth and social standing, compared to River's lack of both, create a sense of tension, right? It makes you question if Isabel's animosity towards River is rooted in genuine concern for Everett or just a fear of losing her own social standing.
Oh, there's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
And speaking of complicated dynamics, let's talk about the party scene. River, in a moment of a raw vulnerability,
Right.
asks Everett to take her virginity, and he refuses.
That scene is a turning point for all the characters involved. It goes beyond teenage angst and really exposes the vulnerabilities and insecurities and unspoken expectations that are swirling beneath the surface.
Right. I mean, here's River, who rarely lets anyone in.
Right.
Putting herself out there in such a vulnerable way. And Everett, despite his initial kindness towards River, ultimately chooses to stay within the safe confines of his relationship with Isabel.
I'm hesitant to label Everett's actions as solely driven by kindness, though. His behavior could also be interpreted as a form of pity or even a savior complex. It's almost as if he's aware of her vulnerability, but ultimately fears being pulled into her chaotic world.
That's a really insightful point. I hadn't thought about it that way. And of course, Isabel's reaction to the situation,
Yeah.
the accusations and rumors, create this ripple effect that impacts all of their lives for years to come.
The aftermath of that party scene is so telling. It exposes the fragility of trust and the devastating consequences of gossip. We've got a social hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a high school setting, where image and perception are everything. It makes you wonder if River will ever be able to truly recover from that level of public humiliation.
And that brings us to the time jump, where we see the characters as young adults. River is now living on her own, still grappling with the trauma of her past, but also finding solace and a sense of self-expression through her art. She's even started to form genuine connections with people, like Steph, her new best friend.
It's interesting to see how River uses art as a way of communicating emotions that she still struggles to express verbally. It makes me think, is her art a form of healing, or is it another way of keeping the world at arm's length?
I see what you mean. And then we have Everett, who's in a seemingly committed relationship with Isabel. But it's clear there's a disconnect, a lack of genuine passion. He seems almost trapped by societal expectations and his own sense of duty.
I wonder if Everett's decision to stay with Isabel stems from guilt over the events at the party. Maybe he feels obligated to make things right. Or perhaps he's simply afraid of rocking the boat and disrupting the life that's been laid out for him.
It's almost like he's living a life that's expected of him,
Mm.
not one that he truly desires. Which makes me even more curious about what happens when their paths cross again in the present day. From what I've read, the sparks definitely fly.
That reunion is going to be explosive. They're both carrying years of unresolved emotions, regrets, and what-ifs. It makes you wonder if their connection is strong enough to overcome the baggage of the past, or if they're destined to repeat the same patterns of hurt and heartbreak.
Going back to those early chapters, what really struck me was how isolated River is. Even in like a loving home, she's surrounded by people who want to connect with her, but she just can't seem to let them in.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see. Like that scene when Oliver's friends are over and she practically disappears into the background. It just highlights how uncomfortable she is with normalcy, with the kind of easygoing interactions that most teenagers just take for granted.
Exactly. It's like she's constantly on edge, right?
Yeah.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Even when Bridget, her adoptive mom, tries to do things, like take her shopping or decorate her room, River seems to just like shrink away.
It's a stark contrast to Bridget's enthusiasm. You can see Bridget really wants to create that sense of belonging for River, but it's almost as if River is like rejecting those efforts. It makes you wonder if she's afraid to let herself believe that this stability, this happiness, could actually last.
And then there's Everett. Even in those early chapters, there's something about the way he interacts with River that's different from his friends. He's not just being polite, right? There's a genuine thoughtfulness there.
I'm not entirely convinced it's genuine, though, at least not at first. It could be that he's drawn to her vulnerability, that he sees her as a project, someone he can fix. It plays into that classic savior complex we often see in these types of narratives.
You might be right. But there are moments, like when he notices she hasn't eaten at lunch and brings her a snack, that seemed to go beyond just wanting to be the good guy.
True, those small gestures are interesting. Perhaps it's a combination of factors. A genuine desire to help, a bit of a savior complex, and maybe even an early flicker of attraction that he doesn't fully understand yet.
And he does stand up for her to his friends, making it clear that she's like off limits.
Yeah.
He's definitely protective of her, even when she's pushing him away.
I wonder if that protectiveness is more about him than her, though. Was he trying to protect his own image? To avoid being associated with the damaged girl? It's a complex dynamic that really makes you think.
So much to consider.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have that party scene. River asks Everett to take her virginity, and his refusal just sends shockwaves through their little world.
Talk about a pivotal moment. On the surface, it seems like a straightforward rejection, but when you look deeper, there are so many layers at play. You have River, who's already feeling like an outsider, making herself incredibly vulnerable in a moment of desperation.
And Everett, despite potentially having feelings for her, chooses to stay within the safety and social acceptance of his relationship with Isabel.
Exactly. And his refusal could stem from a multitude of things, right? He might be scared of hurting her, scared of the social repercussions, or even scared of his own feelings. It's a pivotal moment. That reveals just how deeply entrenched they both are in the social hierarchy of high school.
The fallout is brutal. Isabel's accusations, the rumors, the way River is treated afterward, it's also heartbreaking.
It's a classic example of how quickly gossip can spiral out of control, especially in an environment like high school, where social currency is everything. It makes you wonder if River will ever be able to fully recover from that kind of public shaming.
It's amazing how the author captures the intensity of those emotions, that feeling of being completely ostracized.
And it's in the aftermath of that party that we see River truly retreating into herself. She seeks solace in her art, forms a close bond with Steph, who's like a breath of fresh air, and even experiments with Asher.
Her relationship with Asher is interesting. It seems like she's trying to reclaim some sense of control over her body and her sexuality, but it's clear that it's not a healthy or fulfilling connection.
It's almost as if she's using Asher to prove something to herself, to the world, that she's desirable, that she's worthy of love. But deep down, I think she knows it's a hollow victory.
And meanwhile, Everett is going through his own turmoil. He's trying to build a life with Isabel.
Yeah.
But the foundation of their relationship seems incredibly shaky.
You can tell he feels trapped, both by his own sense of obligation and by the expectations of their families and society. He's going through the motions, but there's no real spark, no passion.
It's like he's trying to convince himself that this is what happiness looks like. But deep down, He knows it's a lie.
And then fate intervenes, as it so often does in these stories. Years pass, and their paths cross again, and it's immediately clear that those unresolved feelings are still there, simmering beneath the surface.
That scene at the art supply store is electric. The way they dance around each other, the unspoken tension, the way they both seem to be fighting against the pull they feel, it's captivating.
It's a classic case of, you can't go home again, but you can't escape your past, either. They're both different people now, but that shared history, the intensity of that first love, is still very much present.
And then, just when things start to heat up again, we have the fire at the studio. It's such a dramatic turning point, with Everett literally pulling River from the flames.
It's a symbolic moment on so many levels. You have the obvious hero narrative, of course, but it also speaks to Everett's desire to protect River, to make amends for the past, even to atone for his own, perceived failures.
And the fact that River runs back
Yeah.
into the burning building to save the book, that first connected her to Everett. That's a powerful statement about the depth of their bond, where their lives have been intertwined from the very beginning.
It's almost as if she's subconsciously trying to preserve the memory of their connection, even as the flames threaten to consume everything around them. It's a testament to the enduring power of first love and the way it can shape our choices, even years later.
And just when we think things are finally moving towards a resolution, we get hit with another bombshell, the revelation about River's biological mother.
Talk about a twist. This introduction of Savannah Scott adds a whole new layer of complexity to the story, forcing River to confront questions about her identity, her family history, and the choices that led her to where she is now.
It's fascinating how this revelation comes at a time when River is already feeling so vulnerable, so uncertain about her place in the world.
Absolutely. She's grappling with the aftermath of the fire, the reemergence of her feelings for Everett,
Yeah.
and now she's faced with this unknown element, this ghost from her past, who could potentially disrupt everything.
It makes her decision to leave Bridgeport, to seek space and clarity.
Right.
Completely understandable.
It's a classic flight response. She's overwhelmed, and running away seems like the only way to protect herself from further emotional turmoil, but as we know, you can't outrun your past forever.
And while River is trying to find herself, Everett is dealing with his own reckoning. He finally breaks things off with Isabel, acknowledging that their relationship is built on a foundation of obligation, not love.
It's a painful but necessary step. He's finally choosing to be honest with himself and with Isabel, even if it means facing the disapproval of their families and society. It shows a level of self-awareness and a willingness to take responsibility for his own happiness.
And then there's Oliver's reaction to learning about what happened between Everett and River. His anger is explosive, and rightfully so. He feels betrayed, protective of his sister, and deeply hurt by his best friend's actions.
It highlights the complex dynamics of their chosen family. Oliver has always been River's protector, her fiercest advocate. To see her hurt by someone he trusted so implicitly is a devastating blow. It makes you question if their friendship can ever truly recover from this betrayal.
It's a reminder that even the strongest bonds can be tested, especially when love, loyalty, and betrayal collide. But despite his anger, you can see a flicker of understanding in Oliver's eyes. He loves them both, and deep down he probably recognizes the depth of Everett's feelings for River.
It's a testament to Oliver's capacity for empathy. He's not condoning Everett's actions, but he's not dismissing the possibility of forgiveness either. It sets the stage for potential reconciliation. But it's clear that the path to healing won't be easy.
There's just so much emotional weight to unpack. But before we dive into the potential resolution of the truth about heartbreak and that sneak peek at the sequel, there's one more key theme I want to explore: the power of art as a form of healing and self-expression.
Yeah, it's a recurring motif throughout the story, particularly for River. Art isn't just a hobby for her, it's a lifeline. It's how she processes her trauma, expresses her emotions, and connects with the world in a way that words often fail to capture.
We see her finding solace in the act of creation, losing herself in the colors and textures, almost as if she's creating a world where she can finally feel safe and in control.
And it's not just about personal healing either. Through her art, she connects with others, helps her students find their own voices, and creates a sense of community and shared experience. It's a beautiful reminder of the transformative power of art, its ability to transcend language barriers and touch the soul in a way that nothing else can.
And it's not just River. The sneak peek at the sequel introduces us to Charlie, who finds solace in music. She's withdrawn, much like River was at that age. But there's a hint of something special brewing between her and Oliver, another artist.
It's intriguing, isn't it? The potential for them to connect through their shared passion for art, to understand each other in a way that others might not. It suggests that healing and connection are possible, even in the most unexpected places.
It makes me wonder if art can be a bridge, a way of closing the gaps between people who might seem worlds apart on the surface.
I think it absolutely can. Art, in all its forms, has a way of speaking to the deepest parts of ourselves, bypassing all the defenses and pretenses we build up over time. It's a universal language, a way of saying, I see you, I hear you, I understand.
That's a beautiful thought.
Mm.
And it makes me think about how we all need creative outlets, ways to tap into that universal language and connect with the world around us on a deeper level.
Absolutely. Whether it's painting, music, writing, or any other form of creative expression, it allows us to process our emotions, share our stories, and find a sense of belonging in a world that can often feel isolating and overwhelming.
So we've explored the complexities of these relationships, the lasting impact of trauma, and the power of art as a form of healing. We've seen how the characters navigate love, loss, betrayal, and the ever-present weight of the past. Now we're on the verge of resolution.
The big question is, will River and Everett find their way back to each other? Can they overcome the obstacles and build a future together? Or are they destined to repeat the same patterns of hurt and heartbreak?
And what about Oliver and Charlie? Will their forbidden attraction blossom into something more? Or will societal expectations and the complexities of their pasts keep them apart?
We've got a lot to unpack in the final part of this deep dive. And I can't wait to explore the potential outcomes, the lingering questions, and the tantalizing hints at what might be to come.
We left off with so many unanswered questions. What happens when River returns to Bridgeport? How does she face the aftermath of the fire, the revelation about her birth mother, and those undeniable feelings for Everett?
It seems she returns a changed person. The time away has given her a newfound sense of clarity and self-awareness. It's as if she's finally ready to confront her past and take control of her own narrative.
But even with that newfound strength, her reunion with Everett at the hospital is intensely emotional. The way he expresses his feelings, that poem he wrote for her, it's like he poured his heart out on the page.
And her response is equally raw and honest. She doesn't shy away from the pain they've both endured. It's as if the fire, both literally and figuratively, has stripped away all their defenses, leaving them exposed and vulnerable.
It's in that moment of shared vulnerability that we see the potential for a genuine connection, a love built on something deeper than just physical attraction or shared history.
But it's not a simple path to happily ever after. There's still the weight of their past, the societal expectations, and the fear of repeating old patterns. And then there's the looming presence of Savannah Scott, River's biological mother, adding another layer of complexity.
Her arrival throws River into a whirlwind of emotions. She's grappling with feelings of abandonment, anger, a desperate need for answers, and perhaps even a flicker of hope that she might finally find the family connection she's always craved.
And it's Everett, who stands by her side, offering unwavering support and understanding. He doesn't try to fix her, doesn't offer empty platitudes. He simply listens and encourages her to seek the truth on her own terms.
It's a powerful example of how love can be a source of strength, a safe harbor in the midst of a storm. He's not trying to be her savior. He's simply offering a steady presence, a reminder that she's not alone in this journey.
It's also a testament to his growth as a character, too. He's moved beyond the savior complex and the need to control everything. He's learned to trust River's strength and to simply be there for her, offering unconditional support.
And speaking of growth, the fire at the studio is another turning point for both of them. It's a symbol of destruction, yes, but also of rebirth and transformation.
Everett's heroic act
Yeah.
of saving River from the flames solidifies his commitment to her, his willingness to risk everything for their connection. It's a physical manifestation of his love, a tangible representation of his desire to protect her from harm.
And the fact that River runs back into the burning building to retrieve the book, that first connected them to Everett. It speaks volumes about the enduring tower of their bond, the way their stories have been intertwined from the very beginning.
It's almost as if she's instinctively trying to preserve the memory of their love, to salvage something precious from the wreckage. It's a testament to the enduring power of first love and the way it can shape our choices, even years later.
The ending of The Truth About Heartbreak is both satisfying and bittersweet. We see River and Everett finding their way back to each other, their love rekindled and strengthened by the trials they've faced.
But there's also a sense of realism. The author doesn't shy away from the complexities of healing and forgiveness. Their scars remain, both physical and emotional, but they're no longer a source of shame or fear. They've become part of their shared narrative, a reminder of their resilience and the depth of their love.
And then, just when we think we've reached the end, we get that tantalizing glimpse into the sequel, The Truth About Tomorrow. The focus shifts to Oliver, and we're introduced to Charlie, a young woman who seems to be struggling with her own demons.
There's an immediate spark between them, a forbidden attraction that's sure to create some interesting complications, especially given Oliver's protective nature, particularly towards River. It makes you wonder if he'll be able to navigate this new relationship, while still honoring the loyalty and love he feels for his sister and his best friend.
It's a cliffhanger. That leaves us wanting more, eager to see how their story unfolds, and if they can find happiness amidst the complexities of their pasts. But for now, we have to be content with the knowledge that River and Everett have found their way back to each other, their love a beacon of hope in a world that often feels dark and unpredictable.
And that's the beauty of a good story, isn't it? It stays with us, sparks our imaginations, and reminds us that even in the face of heartbreak, healing is possible, second chances exist, and love, in all its messy and complicated forms, has the power to transform us.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. The Truth About Heartbreak is more than just a romance. It's a story about resilience, forgiveness, and the enduring power of human connection. And I, for one, can't wait to see what the future holds for these characters. Until next time, dear listeners, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the stories that move you.